Now, I want you to remember, you heard this theory here first. Republicans are going to do with Nelson Mandela the exact same thing that they did with Medicare and the exact same thing that they did with the civil rights movement. They're going to start saying, oh, we were with it all along. We were always on the side of Nelson Mandela. What are you talking about? We never hated the guy. We were the ones who gave him the most support, actually. We see it time and time again in American history when somebody progressive comes along and does something amazing that puts them in the history books and makes them remember throughout all time. The conservatives just, since they're so embarrassed they were opposed to it, they just have to pretend like they were with it all along. It's the old, if you can't beat them, join them mentality. That actually happens in real life. So let's go back in history and I'll tell you the reality of how conservatives really felt about Nelson Mandela. The National Review, which is a conservative publication, after they heard Mandela got life in prison, they said, quote, "The South African courts have sentenced a batch of admitted terrorists to life in the penitentiary, and you would think the court had just finished barbecuing St. Joan to hear the howls from the liberal media." So even back then, they're doing this liberal press garbage. And what they're saying is, no, these guys are admitted terrorists, so yes, they belong in jail. They also predicted the collapse of white government in South Africa would bring, quote, "anarchy and the collapse of civilization." And the government would, quote, "be dominated by witch doctors." Can you get a little more racist? You're not making it obvious enough. Anarchy if white people aren't leading. Oh my goodness, how stupid were these people? How wrong are they on every prediction they've ever made? And also, by the way, here's another tremendous bit of irony in this. They're saying, oh no, it's anarchy if the white government falls. But the reality is that there was anarchy when the white government was in power, because it was the white government who was brutally and viciously repressing and oppressing the African-American population. Well, not African-American, but the black population in South Africa, the African population in South Africa. And you were the problem. You were the ones who were brutal. But see, the way the mindset works with these people is the way the mindset works with a racist is, I have the right to keep you down. And then if you dare fight back at all, I will say that you are the brutal one and the vicious one. Yeah, but what about your own actions? Keeping them down in the first place isn't brutal and vicious? Of course it is. They don't have any level of introspection. They're allowed to do whatever they want, and Africans can't do anything. It's so pathetic and it's so childish, and they're so stupid to believe that. Now, William F. Buckley, of course a famous conservative, said, quote, "Where Mandela belongs is precisely where he is, in jail." That was in 1985. Stay classy, William F. Buckley. Jimmy Carter had imposed sanctions on the racist South African government, and when Reagan came in power, he immediately reversed them. He's like, no, we'll do business with the racists all day long. We support them. We got their back. Funny, we never talk about that aspect of Reagan. Or maybe the conservatives do and they like it. Who knows? But oh my, great Ronald Reagan. He was awesome. The best thing for the country ever. He only supported a brutal, vicious, racist regime that kept blacks as literal second-class citizens. Yeah, what a great guy he was. Jerry Falwell vehemently, this is the conservative Christian, he vehemently opposed sanctioning the racist government, and he said, quote, "The liberal media has for too long suppressed the other side of the story in South Africa." Because, of course, there's always two sides to a story. You either, it's 50-50 whether the slave master was right or the slave. Duh. He says, "It is very important that we stay close enough to South Africa so that it does not fall prey to the clutches of communism." These guys are so silly. And they're also, we can laugh at them now because it's in retrospect, but there are still people who think like this among us, and they're pathetic. In 1986, House members had to vote on a non-binding resolution to free Nelson Mandela. You know what they did? Voted it down. Voted it down. The no votes included John McCain, well done, John, Newt Gingrich, why am I not surprised, and Dick Cheney. And in the year 2000, Dick Cheney was asked to defend that vote. So he did. He said, they were a terrorist organization. Oh. Now, in the 80s and 90s, Senator Jeff Flake testified in front of Congress in support of the racist apartheid regime. And the Heritage Foundation in the 90s said, quote, Americans nevertheless have reasons to be skeptical of Mandela. Nelson Mandela is not a freedom fighter. That's a quote. Quote, not a freedom fighter. He repeatedly has supported terrorism. Actually, guys, I beg to differ. It is not Nelson Mandela who was supporting terrorism. It was all of you who were supporting terrorism in the form of the apartheid government, the openly racist apartheid government. And don't come along today and try to pretend like you were on Mandela's side all along, because we know the facts, and you weren't.